We are heading up into space again, to distant worlds far, far away. The year is 2055, and we are building cities up in space. You are portraying as one of these characters building one of these cities. And in this video, I'm of course going to show you how to set up this game and how you play it. So let's take a look at it. We start by placing the game board in the center of the table. Next we need to place the element tokens in their specific pile according to their colors. And we of course place these in easy reach for all players. On this board there are 3 big cities. And in between these cities there are 3 factories. And we need to fill them up with elemental tokens. Each of these factories gets 1 element token per color. Just like this. Now each player chooses a color they would like to portray as. And then we need to take the character card, 3 scoring markers, but also the action marker. We place the action marker on top of our character card. And if we are the first player, we also get the first player card. Then each player takes their scoring marker and place it next to number 1 on the scoring tracks. And we will do this on all of the 3 regions. Next we need to shuffle the bonus tokens, meaning this ones here. And then we need to place them out on the indicated places on each region. Then with the bonus tiles that we have left, we should create 3 stacks with 4 tokens in each stack, and then place them out face down on the designated area next to each region. When we have done this, we flip the stack over. We are not allowed to look at the ones that are below the top one, we're only allowed to see the top token. Now we need to shuffle the project cards, looking like this. We shuffle them and then we place them in a pile face down. Each player now draws 3 cards to form their starting hand. In turn order, starting with the first player, each player draws 1 elemental token that has the same color as their character. Meaning that if you are the red character, well then you should take a red element token. And now we need to place it out in the center of any of the regions. But you can also choose to put out your element token next to one of the other element tokens that are already placed out in a region. This means that some regions might start without any element tokens, which is okay. Now we need to create the offer piles. We will do this by flipping up 4 cards from the draw deck. Faced up. These here will be the cards that are available for players in future turns. Next we need to take a production tile, the one with the flag on it, and place it out on the center of the board. And then we need to shuffle the rest of the production tiles and put on top of the bottom one. Depending on how many players you are, you need to have a specific amount of tiles. If you are 2 players, you should remove 3 production tiles with this symbol on from the game. If you are 3 players, you should remove 2. And then we need to place out 4 element tokens on this tile, 1 of each color. So in this game, you portray as an entrepreneur, building a mega city. You will do that by using these project cards, but also the elements. Once you have the right elements in the right combination, well then you can build a building. Each turn is played out with a player starting with the first player, playing their turn to the fullest, and then moving on to the player on their left. But what can you actually do during your turn? Well, let's take a look at that. During a player's turn, they need to do 3 actions. And the actions you can do is either to draw a card or to place out an energy token on the board. To draw a card, you simply choose either the top card from the deck or one of the available cards out on the table. And you can have how many cards as you like to on your hand. There is no limit. If you choose to draw a card from the face up on the table, you do not replace it just yet. So that's the first action you can choose to do, to simply draw a card and put it on your hand. Now, you can actually do the same action over and over again, if you want to. So if you want to use your turn to draw 3 cards, well then you draw 3 cards. The second action you can choose to do, besides drawing cards, it's to place out elements out on the regions. So during your turn, you can choose one of the available element tokens on the factory and place it out on one of the adjacent regions. Meaning that you cannot take one token here and place it out over there. They need to be adjacent to the factory that you pick from. But you can choose any color. If you choose to take one of the element tokens and put it into an empty region, it needs to be put on the space in the center. But if someone else already have placed their element there, you instead place out your element next to one of the other elements. You cannot put your element all by themselves. They need to be adjacent to another that is already placed. When or if you manage to cover one of the bonus tokens, you get that bonus token. And then you place that bonus token close to your character card. But you also get a bonus token if you manage to pass any of the marked out squares on the victory point track on each region. Meaning that if you move up here, well then you would take the top one from the pile. So that's the way you place out elements in the regions. It's quite easy, right? Now, when one of the factories are empty, we need to refill that factory right away. This factory here is empty and has no elements in it. So now we need to refill that factory with elements. And we take those elements from the production tile. Now this tile will go back into the box. But before we gave it back to the box, we need to flip it over and see which elements it shows. Because now we need to fill up the new top production tile with those same element tokens. And then this one goes back into the box. So now we know how to place out elements, but how do we build buildings? Well, that is where your cards on your hand comes into play. Because on these cards there are patterns, and you match these patterns with elements out on the regions to build a house. Like this card here, for example. As we can see up here, there are 3 green elements and 2 blue ones. This matches up with the pattern out on the table. So now you can choose to build this building and place that building out on the board in the corner. But you cannot build a building in a region if the last card built there has the same illustration, meaning artwork, as the one you want to place. But to be able to build anything at all, you need to have been the last player to place any of the element tokens matching the building itself. But if you manage to build the building, you will get the victory points that is stated in the bottom left corner. And then move up that same amount of steps. Some of these buildings has 2 different victory points. 2 or 4, as in this case here. If you build this building and it has your player color on it, meaning the card itself, well then you get 2 points. But if it has another player's color on it, you would get 4 points. And that was the end of your turn. Now, if there is less than 4 cards out on the market, we refill the market with new cards. And then we have done our turn, and the turn goes over to the player on our left. Now they will do their 3 actions, and that's the way the game keeps on going, until we reach the last tile out on the table. When we reach the last tile, well, we come into the end round. Now we need to place out these 4 elements on the board itself. And each player will get to play their last turn. Then we go into end of game scoring. So the game is over and we need to see who is the best entrepreneur and who has used their elements the best way. First, we of course need to count the tracks out on the regions to see how many scores we got there. But we also need to count our bonus tokens that we might have received during the game. But then we also need to take a look at the regions themselves. Because now we need to see which player that has the biggest cluster of element tokens, meaning element tokens connected together in one region, because that player will get 1 point per token connected. On this scoreboard here, we will write in the results. At the top, we will add points of the region where we had our highest score. In a case the players had the same highest score in more than one region, then we choose one region that we score for. On the second row, we add the points of the region where they have their highest second score. Again, in case of a tie, we will simply have to get along. Then we multiply by 3 the score in a region where we have our lowest score. Again, if we have a tie, we simply need to get along. Down here we score 3 points for each bonus token that we have, and did not lose. Then we add it all together. Ta-da! Now we have a winner! And that's how you play the game. I mean, this game is quite easy to learn how to play. It takes really no time at all to set up, but it's quite hard to become really good at and master because there's a lot of things going on out on the board. And you really need to keep a good attention on what cards you have on your hand, which tokens you would like to place and where, and there's always a player messing something up for you because you have a plan and then they think that that plan is too good for you to keep and they ruin it. So it's quite hard for you to actually master this game, but it's a nice, easy game that most players can play. That, my friend, was Neotopia. This game is quite great. I like this a lot. I mean, this is a light game that is kind of heavy sometimes because it's really hard to get those little elements just where you want them, to keep track on the little cards. You can play this with anybody, really, but also all ages. I mean, there's no text here. It's really just a pattern that you need to build. So it's a quite great game for beginners, but also for more experienced ones. If you want to know more, well, then check out the links down in the description. But most importantly, my friend, please remember to keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace out, and subscribe if you want to.